I feel like anytime George Strait plays on halftime, you know who is coming on to join us here, because we're giving him walk-up music since he is such an integral part to our show once per week. Clay Henry is joining us right now from Hawgs Illustrated, the publisher and editor. Of course, you can read him at Whole Hog Sports as well. Clay was in attendance, and I don't need you to rank that game last night against anything else or anything, but Clay, it certainly is in the pantheon of great Razorback moments, and it was an amazing night to be in Fayetteville yesterday.
I don't want to mislead anybody. I was not in attendance. So
I saw you the other games. I figured you were still there.
I did, but here's the deal. Dudley Dawson had not covered any games this year, and I gave up my spot in the press box for Dudley last night, and it helped me because we're working on a special project. And I worked late the night before till about 1:30, then got up and did radio with Ty, and then I came home to Norfolk and worked all afternoon and evening on our the special magazine that we're having to commemorate the SEC championship and the SEC tournament. So we've got a special magazine just on that. So I'm working on that and let Dudley cover the game last night. Of course, I watched and helped out in some other capacities as I could. It was kind of fortunate that I didn't do that one day earlier because had a big storm and power outage. My wife did not get to watch, which she said she's almost glad. The power was out the night of the first championship game, that Arkansas lost. So she listened to you in the dark. She said it was a little creepy to listen to you in the dark. I'm just telling you, okay?
Did she need some light? Would that help? Does she need a picture of me so that she kind of feels like there's somebody there with her? What was creepy about it?
Just to listen to your voice. Maybe it was Bubba's voice in the dark.
It must have been Bubba's voice in the dark. That's got to be what it is. A lot of exit velocity stuff in the dark is not good. That's right. Spin rate, exit velocity. Velo in the dark doesn't work very well, does it?
No way.
That's where it gets scary. So it's like take your pick off of yesterday. You had some great individual stories, the home run by Opitz, the home run by Moore, the Welch home run. How about just the idea that they got the home run bats going? Because, we can talk about this team takes pitches, they get on base, they don't have to hit home runs to win games, but gosh, it was great to use it because now they've got 102 and just feels better when they hit home runs because when they homer, they win.
Yeah, it can happen so quick, can it, Phil? I mean, it's lightning when it comes, and it's like boom. And boom's probably not loud enough for the Charlie Welch home run. It's everyone that I've talked to that was there last night, including one of my daughters, is like their ears are still ringing. They felt the noise. And I've heard loud Razorback eruption, but I bet you, the farm where Bubba grew up in Winslow probably heard the eruption when Charlie hit that ball. What does Eddie call him? Good time, Charlie.
He must have been. And it's interesting too. There's a lot of folks that were not happy that Brady Slavin started. Probably wanted Charlie Welch in there as the DH and move Goodhart into the outfield. But you knew that Dave, it didn't work for Charlie as the starter necessarily. It's not that he was an easy out or anything. I think Dave likes to use him where he can plug him in at a critical moment. And the dude's 5 for his last 5 as a pinch hitter. That's a guy I want pinch hitting right now.
Yeah, you can pitch around a guy, and if you put him in a certain spot, he comes up with nobody on. Well, you just pitch around him. So I want to talk more about this because my prediction before the game was that he would come up in a huge spot,
just like he's done, really in like almost the last handful of home games. And he did the same thing at Tennessee. And he comes in, it's almost like a relief pitcher that comes in at a critical moment for a leverage situation.
Yeah,
You're using Charlie Welch the same way. Yeah, we'll get into that in the next segment.
Van Horn credit, magical.
No doubt about that. That's right. For anyone who might be critical about Slavin's playing, how about Dave Van Horn's decision to have Charlie Welch on the bench and use him at the perfect moment? Got Clay Henry with us here for the last segment of hour number 1. So Clay, you want to talk about about Charlie Welch and about Dave's decision to to sit him and choose the right moment, which I think is a brilliant decision by Dave Van Horn. And, somebody might say, well, he hit a home run. If you started him, maybe he would have hit a home run early. You put in a pinch hitter like Welch in a leverage moment when you kind of have that base. He's got bases loaded and a pitcher struggling with command. Like, that was the perfect slot. I thought it was a brilliant move by Dave.
Well, it sure was. I think that that is, and I really like the idea of getting Slavens back in there. And I know you say, well, he struggled. He was going to struggle whenever you put him back in. He's missed, almost 2 weeks. And that's what happens with baseball players when they sit out 2 weeks. They got to get their timing back. You cannot get it in BP. You cannot get it in a cage. You've got to see live pitching. You got to see live breakers. You got to see 92. And whenever you put him back in, and the sooner you do it, the best you'll get. Well, I say the quicker you'll get his best. So I understood what he was doing, and you might not see immediate dividends, but you might this coming weekend because he's gotten those at bats.
Yeah, he has. I think he's gonna save him for moments like that again.
For Charlie. Yeah,
exactly. And I think the lineup you saw yesterday very well could end up being what you see in the Super. And I say that before I do a deep dive into NC State. I've looked at them a little bit. They do have a couple of lefties that pitch big innings for them, but they started a lefty yesterday but then they started a lefty yesterday though, and still, he's got Goodhart leading off. He's got Gregory in there too. I just think I think he likes the lineup that he put in there because this mostly was the lineup you saw throughout the regular season.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it's also a really good defensive lineup. I tell you what, there was a lot of talk before the season, and what is Brady Slavin's position? Well, it's first base now, and no one believed that when he arrived at Arkansas. He was a man with no position. You're going to play him in the outfield. You're going to play him at third. Dave put him over there at first and said, learn it, and we're going to teach it to you, and he's made plays over there.
Yeah. What do you think about there's a lot to celebrate, too, but I think in the Super this next weekend, you need Franklin's bat back. Because this NC State team can hit, and Christian, something's not right with his swing and his confidence. It was amazing to see him grind out that 10-pitch walk that keyed the big eighth-inning rally. So, he was still productive without being able to swing much, but I really feel like they need his bat moving forward.
There's something off, and I'm not the swing guru. You got the swing guru sitting beside you in the booth, and that guy can dissect a swing. And I mean, there's not many better pure hitters than Bubba Carpenter, as a Razorback. And I always thought he'd, play a long time in the big leagues, and it's just everything's timing about that. But that guy knows the swing. But it looks to me like Christian, as he's getting ready to swing, that he torques his body back, which makes his swing longer. He's got a traditionally short, compact swing, but when he torques that body back, he's moving away from the pitch and then trying to swing, and you can't time it up, and he's late. That's what I see. I don't know what Bubba, is he mentioned to that during the broadcast, or just that he looks off?
Been getting a little long and a little. But
that's why he's long. He's torquing back.
Yeah, and getting jammed on pitches he usually wouldn't be getting jammed on. What he wants to see him doing is lining it the other way, which is what he's been so good at, going the opposite field, and we haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, I mean he'll stroke him to right center, and then when he times it up, he's stroking it to left center. Yep.
Yeah.
Couple more minutes here with Clay Henry here on Halftime. Clay, you brought up the hitting. I want to go in a different direction here with pitching. And, I mean, yes, you were able to win this regional, albeit I think there's still some valid concerns with this team. And I want to focus on pitching. Outside of Kevin Kopps and probably Patrick Wicklander, this pitching staff struggled this weekend. So when you look at NC State, this team can hit. They've got a lot of power in that lineup. What's the answer to try to get? You mentioned confidence with Christian Franklin. What's the key to get some confidence back in this pitching staff?
Well, I think Lyle Lockhart is okay. I mean, I think he can give you some innings, and I think that you probably can I think Monk will be all right. And I was prepared to see, to see Wicklander, come in relief if they needed him to. I think that's okay. Here's the good news: you only need 2 victories in the Super. You needed 3 in the regional, and that's a whole different animal for this staff. It all condenses a little bit, and you can, you win the first 2 if you set your pitching right. You don't even have to play the 3rd game. So I really like their chances with this staff, with the numbers that they've got, and I think that they'll be in a better situation than they were in the regional, needing 3 victories.
I do think, Clay, that bringing Kopps into the situation he was brought in yesterday in the 3rd inning, that's a moment that they usually would have gone to a Ryan Kostu or a Caden Monk. They'd used Kostu the night before, and I don't think they wanted to use him back-to-back days, and that would have been a moment for Monk to come in. But I don't think they have a lot of confidence in him right now.
No, I think you're right, and but he can go in there and it might snap in immediately. But I also think that you've seen kind of an emergence of Connor Nolan, and he can give you more than what you saw. I mean, just 2 innings. He's got 3 pitches, and he can go 4 or 5 if you need him to. But I really don't think that unless you get in some extra inning games, that this is going to be a problem for this weekend. You're going to have to score some runs, though, because this is a team that's capable. You might get in an 8-7 game.
Have they said at this point? I haven't heard anything to this point. Have they gave a status update on Zeb yet?
I think the idea is that they were going to rest him this last weekend and see what the situation is with the fluid in his forearm. They got that drained, and I think it's probably a wait and see for this next weekend. But his season is not over. We know that for a fact. They've said he's not done this season. He should be able to pitch moving forward.
Yeah, I think that as you move forward and you have less problems with your pitching, when you get to Omaha, there's lots of days off. It changes. To me, the weekend they just went through is the toughest for the pitching staff. So, to me, the key is to get Slavens and Franklin going.
Yeah.
How do you go about? So. How would we go about doing? Is it just as simple as trying to read pitches better? Or
He just needs at bats, and he'll be fine. And the ankle's going to get better every day. He needs to play on it, and it's not. You can see it's still gimpy. But Christian, it could click on and off. That's the way it goes with hitting, right?
Well, sometimes Clay, you need something to break you out of the rut that you're in, and maybe we'll find out on Friday that 10-pitch walk that he ground out. Hopefully, that's the turning point. Sometimes it's just the one hit that gets you out of the slump, that gets your confidence.
Hey, the good hard hit against Rocker, that seemed to do it for him. He looks like he's back going again.
That's exactly right. So, maybe that moment was the 8th inning walk that keyed the 4-run rally. I hope so, because I thought
it also helps when the pitcher makes a mistake, right?
Yes. Yeah, and they made their share of mistakes in that 8th inning, but also, in Bubba's words, their booties puckered up a little bit. I mean, that had something to do with the pressure getting to those pitchers and the atmosphere. Maybe that was part of it, because this is a pitching staff that usually throws strikes. But they had trouble doing that against Arkansas batters. Some of that is fear. Some of that is pressure, I think.
Yeah, and pressure doesn't bother Arkansas. They've been in the cooker all year long.